For transparency's sake here, I think it's for the best if I start off this video by saying I fell off of My Hero Academia hard. The last season of this show that I was fully dialed in for was the one that aired back in 2019, where Deku went toe-to-toe with Overhaul, which was followed up by a rock concert. But for those who are frequent viewers of the channel, this is common knowledge, mainly because I mentioned it in my video on the My Hero Academia spin-off, Vigilantes. I quite liked the characters in that show and the first season as a whole, especially after taking such a long break from the franchise. It felt good to finally re-emerge myself in Horikoshi's world. Also, before anyone comments, I am well aware that the actual creator of Vigilantes is Furuhashi Hideyuki. I think that's how you say his name. But the series still takes place inside My Hero, ergo, Kohei Horikoshi's world. Anyway, after watching all 13 episodes, I was genuinely curious to see how the mainline story was progressing after so many years. Or, I guess I should really say see how it all ends after all these years, considering that this is supposedly the final season. Which, judging from my tone, you might be able to tell that I don't buy that at all. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many shonen mangaka have ended their series, and then in like a year or two, they're back announcing or shipping a sequel to said series. MHA will be back, I guarantee it. But as far as said ostensible final season is concerned, it's pretty great. By no means would I say that it's perfect. The pacing has been a little bit wonky, but as someone who doesn't read the manga, I have no idea if that falls on Nakayama and Nagasaki, who I believe are the directors of the anime, or if that is the result of them just following exactly what Kohei had laid out in the manga. If it's the latter, then I imagine he may have fallen victim to the final arc curse, which somehow seems to plague almost every creative that works at Weekly Shonen Jump. I wonder why that is. Before I delve into any of that though, there is a character that absolutely deserves to be mentioned first. That obviously being Bakugo, who I am convinced is not just a fan favorite within the community of My Hero, but he's also a fan favorite at Studio Bones, and maybe he's even the author's favorite as well. Because I genuinely don't think that there's a more beautifully written, paced, animated, or acted sequence of events in the entire series than his revival and subsequent saving of All Might. Even with the penultimate episode being as great as it was, I found the combination of episode 3 and 4, which can be described as nothing other than the culmination of Bakugo's decade-long journey as a character, to be far more compelling. Going from being the one who believed that his actions caused the world to lose the greatest hero it had ever known, to being the only one who could save him, finally earning that redemption, then proceeding to carry out the wills of Kudo and All Might against All for One? And even though he wasn't the one to actually defeat him, because just like Toshinori, this ain't his story, it is undeniable that the damage he did and the steps he took still meant so much in so many ways. All in all, it was incredibly well done, plain and simple, and again, the animation. You cannot tell me after those 2 episodes that there are not at least 14 different pictures of Bakugo hanging in that studio. That part where he's figuring out his new powers while barreling through the destroyed city, and that howitzer impact, my word! All the animators that came together to create this masterpiece should genuinely feel so proud of their work. You all created something truly special. Anywho, with the copious amount of Bakugo glaze now out of the way, that means it's finally time to talk about Deku in addition to episode 8. Right out of the gate, I'm gonna be a tad negative, because I have a feeling that there may have been a few issues behind the scenes with its production. By and large, on the whole, I'd absolutely rate it on the higher end. But, and I know comparison may be the thief of joy, I'm gonna do it anyways, when episode 8 has its feet held to the shining fire of even just 3 and 4, holes begin to emerge. Maybe the sheer number of characters participating in this final battle has something to do with that, considering anybody who is anybody in My Hero gets some amount of screen time, however minor their role may be. So if that is the reason behind the slight dip in flair, then I understand. This isn't a movie, and there's like at least 60 to 70 different heroes present. And that's probably why the pacing for this episode was a little wonky. Another small drawback for me is the handling of Kurogiri. Having such a complicated, intrinsic, and tragic character such as him be essentially thrown to the wayside for the sake of Bakugo's inclusion and so Deku could deliver the finishing blow was just kind of weird. The guy's last words were a plea for Shigaraki to be saved, and in response, he got obliterated. I don't really know what the message here I'm supposed to take away from this moment is. Don't ever try to interrupt a main character's finishing move. There's a time and a place, get the hell out the way. Is that the message? Besides those two pain points though, and like I previously stated, I rate this episode very highly. Seeing Deku get his own version of the Season 3 All Might fight, but instead of going at it alone while the whole world watches, he shares this burden with all of those he'd made a bond with along his journey. Individually, almost none of them would even be able to last a single second against All for One. But together, they make a difference, even if it is in a small way, which ultimately leads to the big bad finally being put down. I do find it funny, though, that All for One couldn't understand why 70 superheroes coming together and overwhelming him with sheer numbers was not going to eventually end up working in his favor. I guess a bug's life never made it to the My Hero Academia universe. Even so, how does a grasshopper have a better understanding of ratios than a demon lord? Trauma, I guess. Given how that backstory went, it didn't really seem like he was making a whole bunch of time from movies. But it was cool to see so many heroes coming together for possibly one final time, and have them bear the weight of All for One's attacks so Deku could get close and use the embers of One for All to put him down. And of course, for the ultimate climactic battle, there was really only one song that could be played as Deku charged forward to let out a smash one last time. The one and only You Say Run, which fit perfectly. But on the low, and I know that this particular song absolutely needed to be played for this moment because, I mean, come on, it's You Say Run. However, while I was watching the episode, I couldn't help but feel like everything happening on screen would hit 10 times harder if Might You was the chosen track. And for those who don't remember Might You, you can hear it playing when Eri jumps into Deku's arms and he goes 100% in Season 4. You can also hear it in the background when Deku shares One for All with Bakugo at the end of the Heroes Rising film. That song holds so much emotional weight, and while I perfectly understand why You Say Run was chosen, because again, it's You Say Run, it's one of Deku's final moments with One for All, there was really just no other option. For the sake of iconography, for the sake of legacy, You Say Run was the only choice. But I don't know. It was an emotional scene. I kind of feel like it maybe would have worked a little bit better with Might You in the background. To speak on things that did happen though, and to give more praise where it is definitely deserved, Shu Sugita, I hope I'm saying that right, was given the privilege of animating Shigaraki and Midoriya combining their attacks for the climactic finish of the episode. He or she did a fantastic job, as they always do. Overall, it's been a satisfying final season, and I'm interested in seeing what Horikoshi is planning to do next. Is it gonna be My Hero Academia Next Generations? Is it gonna be My Hero Academia No More Academia because we're too old now? We'll all just have to wait and see. But anyways, with all that said, that is actually going to do it for this one. So, thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with the notifications on, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody!